Am I the a-hole for refusing to sign a prenup to appease my fiancé's parents?
I've always known that being with Julian would mean dealing with his family.
From the very beginning, they've been a looming shadow over our relationship.
Julian and I met when we were 16 at a private school.
I was the scholarship kid, the outsider, who didn't belong in their world of wealth and privilege. Meanwhile, Julian's family had generations of money, and his parents had a particular vision for who he should end up with. Someone rich, polished, and well-connected, definitely not me. In the early days, his parents didn't bother to hide their disdain. They'd make backhanded comments about how cute it was that Julian had found a project in me.
They'd invite him to exclusive gatherings and conveniently forget to extend the invitation to me. Once, his mother even set him up on a date with a son of one of her wealthy friends. Julian told me about it immediately and refused to go, but the gesture stuck. It was clear they thought I was temporary, a phase he'd outgrow.
Despite all of that, Julian stood by me.
I'll always admire him for that. He has this quiet strength when it comes to us, a kind of stubborn loyalty that defied his parents' expectations.
But when it comes to anything else, especially their financial control, he's never been able to push back.
His family's money is like a leash, and they know exactly how to tighten it to keep him in line.
We've been together for 7 years now. Against all odds, we made it through high school, then college, and now adulthood together.
Julian proposed a few months ago, and I said yes without hesitation.
For a brief moment, it felt like we'd finally won. We were finally building a life that was ours, away from his parents' constant interference.
That illusion shattered the moment his parents found out about our engagement. Over the weekend, they showed up at our apartment, uninvited, with a prenup already drafted.
They sat us down in our living room, their lawyer in tow, and presented me with the document.
His mother, with her perfectly manicured nails and icy smile, said it was just a formality. His father added that it was for everyone's protection and that it was only logical, considering the family's substantial assets. Then came the kicker. It's best to be prepared for when you get divorced. When, not if, as if our marriage was doomed before it even began.
I glanced at Julian, hoping he'd speak up, but he just stared at the floor, his shoulders hunched like a scolded child. That familiar guilty look washed over his face, the same one he'd worn so many times when his parents insulted me in the past. I felt a surge of anger, not just at his parents, but at him too.
After everything we'd been through, after all the times I'd stood by him against their judgment, he was letting them undermine our relationship again.
I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure, but the words spilled out before I could stop them.
"Get the F out," I said, my voice shaking with rage.
His parents froze, their expressions a mix of shock and indignation.
His mother opened her mouth to say something,
but I cut her off. You've disrespected me for years, and I've tolerated it because I love your son.
But I'm not going to sign a document that assumes our marriage will fail.
If you can't support us, then leave.
They left, but not before delivering their final blow.
As his father walked out the door, he turned to Julian and said, "If he doesn't reconsider, we'll cut you off."
That night, Julian was a wreck.
He's always struggled with his parents' approval, and now he was caught between them and me.
I spent hours consoling him, reminding him that he had a degree, a job, and a future that didn't have to depend on his parents' money.
But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about finances.
It was about control.
His parents didn't just want a prenup. They wanted to remind us that no matter how far we'd come, we'd never truly be free of them.
When I told my family about what happened, their reactions were mixed.
My parents said I shouldn't have lost my temper and put Julian in such a difficult position.
My sister, ever the pragmatist, said I should just sign the prenup because it doesn't mean anything anyway, but to me, it means everything.
Signing that document would feel like admitting defeat, like agreeing with his parents that our love isn't enough.
Julian hasn't brought up the prenup since that night. Part of me is relieved, but another part is worried.
I can see the stress weighing on him, the way he's been avoiding phone calls from his parents. I know this isn't over, and I'm terrified of what comes next.
Will his parents' ultimatum push him to their side?
Or will this finally be the moment he breaks free from their control?
So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to sign the prenup?
Or am I right to stand my ground and fight for a marriage built on trust and equality, not his parents' terms?